Welcome to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. We've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Hello and welcome to Undisputed. The crew is back together. I'm Jenny Taft with Shannon, Sharpe, and Skip Bayless. Oh, I have missed you guys.
We missed you as well, Jenny. Thanks for being back. Skip did a great job getting us in and out quarterbacking. But I kind of felt bad beating up on a man that was doing two jobs. So now that he only has one, and that is to debate me, I feel better about beating him down again. Welcome back, Jenny.
Shannon, I'm just glad Jenny is back because you need all the help you can get. And now you have some new help.
All right, we are going to start today with a glimmer of hope, guys, from Major League Baseball. So let's get to it. According to reports, the league and its players are focused on a potential return as early as May. How will this work? Well, the players will play at various ballparks around Arizona. The players will also be isolated at hotels. And this plan reportedly has support from some high-ranking federal public health officials. That is the latest. So, Shannon, how realistic does this sound to you?
That would be a huge undertaking. And from a logistics standpoint, Skip, obviously you'd have to bring the teams in. They would be away from their families. But the players, I think they understand, Skip. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, is that the players are not getting paid, or they have a stipend set up where it's like $170 million in the coffers, and tier players, I mean, you get money accordingly. But, Skip, guys want to get their salary. You have guys making $35, $40 million. They want to get paid. And listening to Jeff Passan last night, he's like, he talked to one player, and he's like, nah, I don't want to be isolated from my family for 4.5 months. Said player called him back, says, my wife said it'll be okay. So I think having to be isolated, Skip, that would be tough. But at the end of the day, athletes, they understand that their job is to play. And a lot of times they have to play in extreme circumstances. They're dealing with issues that a lot of times the general public doesn't know about. This happens to be a situation that everybody is dealing with. Skip, South Korea is moving ahead with their baseball. Remember that South Korea went through something very, very similar to what we're going through right now. And their health officials think they've already plateaued. They've reached their peak. They're starting to tail off. Obviously, in America, Skip, there are some states, New York and other states, Detroit is starting to feel the sting, have been hit harder than others. I don't think Arizona has reached nearly the peak, maybe even L.A., definitely not New York and some of these other states, New Orleans, Louisiana, New Orleans is a city that's been ravaged hard. So it's just a huge undertaking that you're going to put basically every MLB team in Arizona, play around. And another thing happens starting in May and in June, Skip. What's that? The temperature in Arizona outside. But I wouldn't, if that were to happen, I don't think I would have ever been so happy to watch baseball, because I'm willing to watch anything right about now.
I hear you. This was the first little shred of good news that I've heard since that night of March 11th, that fateful night on which Rudy Gobert, it was announced, had tested positive. And that was the night, Shannon and Jenny, it just hit me right between the eyes. Wait a second. This is real. This is happening. Mm-hmm. All of our lives just changed. We just lost the entire NBA, maybe for the whole season, and our lives have been changed maybe forever. So this is the first small step to me back towards some kind of normalcy. We all dearly miss our sports. We all need the great escape that sports provide us. And this is a little ray of light that baseball has figured a way that I think would work maybe for baseball in a way it might not work for basketball. And obviously a lot of us are just as interested, if not a lot more so, in now what's the next move for the NBA. But I think this will work for baseball. I think, Shannon, Jenny, that it will, to create kind of a biodome, a bubble, if you will, in the Phoenix metro area, which, as Shannon suggests, is one of the least hardest hit. of the metro areas by the coronavirus. You've got 10 spring training sites already established that are major league worthy. You have an 11th site that's the old municipal stadium. I used to cover a lot of spring training games there myself. Now Arizona State uses that. So there's 11. Then you've got Chase Field where the Diamondbacks play. That's 12. That's indoors with a retractable roof. So you could play triple headers there. You could play double headers, albeit in 110-degree heat at all the other spring training sites, all within it's about a 50-mile radius. So it's all drivable. And so you could relatively isolate all the teams in the Phoenix area. They would have to agree to basically be isolated from their families, depending on how long this went. I don't know, it could be 4 or 5 months. And it seems like there's a groundswell that they would be okay with being isolated from their families if they got paid, which they would start getting paid. And then you'd have to have a whole new set of ground rules that would work in baseball that might not work in basketball. And that is, you would still have social distancing because baseball's kind of a socially distant game to start with. So you'd have no more mound visits by the manager or the pitching coach. The umpire at home plate might be eliminated for electronic balls and strikes calling. So you could maybe create social distance between the plate ump and the catcher. And then you'd obviously, Shannon, as you know from your playing days, the locker room, or in baseball's case, the clubhouse, could be a test tube, like a petri dish of where this virus could breed at its worst. So maybe you'd have to eliminate the clubhouse situation. They're saying that players could sit up in the stands between innings when you're not on the field. When you're up a bat, you could spread out in the stands so you could socially distance that way. And I assume you would have to then, maybe you'd put on your uniform in your hotel room, and maybe you'd each need a driver of individual cars to take you to the ballparks. So there's a way to pull this off, because in baseball, as you know, Shannon, there's not a lot of body-to-body contact. It's not quite, and you're more covered than you are in basketball. So in basketball, obviously, you've got body-to-body contact, sweaty, sort of uncovered bodies for the most part. So that's a little trickier, a little harder to, there's too much of that. You'd have to spread everybody out. I don't know. I think it might be doable. The NBA has been kicking around the idea of doing this same biodome atmosphere in Las Vegas. But yesterday, Commissioner Silver spoke. He put up a little video on the the NBA Twitter feed. And his point was that the virus is moving faster than any of the medical experts thought it would, but that also could mean it will peak faster. So he was waiting to May 1st to make a call on what's left of the NBA season. And then Woj at ESPN reported that basketball has a drop-dead date now for the playoffs of Labor Day. So they're thinking of the whole summer toward Labor Day as their end game, where if they could get their 2019, 2020 season finished by Labor Day, that it would still work then to segue into the next season pretty much on schedule. So anyway, the point is, baseball has opened a little crack in the door where it feels like it could work. And it gives me a lot of heart, because obviously there'd be no fans in the stand, but we could watch baseball. And as you know, Shannon, we don't do a whole lot of baseball on this show, but I'd be happy to do a whole lot of baseball if that's all that we have to do.
Yeah, Skip, you mentioned the term normalcy, and I was listening to Dr. Fauci speak. He says normalcy in what sense? We might go back. It might not be as extreme as what we're seeing right now, but this normalcy, Skip, might do what 9/11 did for traveling. It was never normal. You remember, Skip, before pre-9/11, you drive 5 minutes, 10 minutes before the plane was going to take off. You drive up, run through the airport, and get on a plane. 9/11 changed that. Well, this virus might change how we interact with each other, at least until they can get a vaccine, kind of like the flu shot, Skip, to keep this thing at bay. So normal might have to leave our vocabulary when we're talking about day-to-day interaction or even sports. Obviously, you heard LeBron says, hey, he was joking, but he's like, yeah, if I know the person, but the likelihood of me coming in contact now, out and dapping and hugging and high-fiving and taking pictures, you know, that might be a thing of the past. Skip, I was just, I had to run to the store. I had an emergency yesterday. I had to go get something. Skip, people still want to take pictures. I'm like, dude, are you for real?
No.
I mean, Skip, he's gowned out. He's got a face mask. He's got a face mask over his eyes. He's got a mask over his nose, and he still wanted to take a selfie. I said, bro, I'm sorry, but I ain't gonna be able to do that.
I got you. So if you look at the bigger picture of this, I still think baseball has a real shot here, because if we're all like Shannon, like you just said, we've all learned the new rules. So if you continue, obviously, to wash your hands regularly, if not like obsessively, and if you learn the golden rule, the number one rule, don't touch your face, and you keep 8 or 10 feet from the other human beings in your neighborhood, your ballpark, so to speak, then it would seem like you could go forward and have a baseball season that would feature a lot of doubleheaders. They'd be playing tripleheaders at Chase Park every day. You could play, each team could play 2, maybe 7-inning doubleheaders, but it seems like you could get away with it. And yet they're talking about expanded rosters just in case somebody did test positive, that you wouldn't have to undo the whole season and stop and quarantine a whole team. And that's, I know the NBA's biggest fear is if you started the playoffs and then all of a sudden some team's up 3-2 in a playoff series, and all of a sudden somebody tests positive on the team that's leading, and you say, we have to quarantine for 2 weeks. Well, you can't do that. So is there a way that, there's a way to pull this off. And again, a lot of people are not going to like this, but it would require baseball and then the NBA to be able to utilize what's on the edge of coming to fruition, and that is these rapid tests. These tests, they say by, April 1st or so, May 1st, that we would have rapid testing whereby in 5 minutes you could know whether you're positive or not. Well, obviously, there are a whole lot of folks out there who don't have tests to begin with. So I know people are going to be offended by this. They're going to say, the people with the money are going to get the tests. Well, isn't that always the case? But
that's how society works.
Give baseball, that's how society works. Yeah. So if some people could give baseball a little bit of pass on this, then maybe the rapid testing could allow them to try to stay current with who is actually okay. And if somebody does test positive, you would remove him from the equation as quickly as possible. And maybe with expanded rosters, you could continue to move forward with the season. I know there are a lot of X factors, a lot of variables. And then the other thing I'll throw in, Shannon, is it's also possible, nobody knows this for sure, but maybe in 105, 110 degree heat, maybe the virus will have a harder time surviving. So maybe that's the ideal test tube would be Phoenix in the summertime to try to get through this for a sport. And for that matter, Las Vegas in the summertime for the NBA. It gets 105, 110 there, obviously, in that desert heat. So maybe that's the ideal temperature to try to defeat the virus. So to me, it feels good. And the key point, as Jenny, as she opened the topic, read, this is being widely reported, that federal public health officials are backing Major League Baseball on this proposal. They are. Well, that's gold to me. That means they say this has got a shot. They are blessing this. So if they're blessing it, then it's up to the Players Association to come to grips with Major League Baseball, obviously. But it seems like it's got a real shot if everybody could follow new rules. And as you say, Shannon, life's already changed completely. So under the new rules of life, maybe at least we could have televised baseball, and maybe we could improve the product just a little bit, because they're talking about, I know Jeff Passan at ESPN has talked about this, that the players would mostly be mic'd up. And this would be back to what Jenny has been doing with XFL, where you'd be interviewing players sort of during the play, that maybe you could hear what the players are saying as they chase a long fly ball or as they try to steal second. Maybe you could actually have them live mic'd to try to improve the televised product. So to me, I'm excited today. I know there are 1,000 hurdles to hurdle, but they all seem doable to me. It all seems workable that they can figure out a way if the players are willing to be away from their families for an extended period of time, because you'd have to stay in relative isolation and you can't go to bars at night because there are not going to be any bars at night. So if you're willing to do that so that you earn your big paychecks and you provide something for the society that we're dearly missing right now, I say, yay. I say, let's go. I say, let's do it. And I say, it's going to at least clear a path for the NBA to get more fast-tracked to figure out how can we pull off some sort of even abbreviated playoffs from this point forward.
Skip, my only concerns or questions would be, how often would you test? Dr. Fauci said there are people asymptomatic. You might have it, but display no symptoms. So so we're going to just do one test and be done? Or periodically we're going to test to make sure this thing is at bay? Because if you don't exhibit any symptoms, you carry it, you're spreading it unknowingly. So those are my concerns. I mean, Skip, I don't want to, just Debbie down or rain on someone's parade, but we have to be realistic here.
Okay, I'm with you, and now I'm out of my lane because, like everybody else, I'm trying to read, I'm trying to listen, I'm trying to learn about this virus, and it still seems like we don't know enough about the virus. So you're asking great questions I don't have answers to. Why are some people completely asymptomatic? Why did Rudy Gobert get sick, but Donovan Mitchell tested positive and he had next to no symptoms? I don't know. I don't get it. And why do some people get hit so hard that they seem to be in relatively good health? Do they have underlying medical issues we're not aware of? But some people die and some people are okay. I don't know. And so the scariest part of this sort of silent, invisible killer is you don't even know if somebody has it or not. And then I'm still not even sure if it's is there airborne contact? So I don't even know how close I can get. Can I have a conversation? Like my camera right now is about 10 feet away from me. Can I be about 10 feet from somebody and have a conversation? Maybe if I have a mask on and I'm going to be protected if they're positive. I'm not even sure of that right now, but it does seem like the sport of baseball is already socially distanced enough. It's on a bigger field where position players are spread out enough. There's some small contact occasionally on the base paths of a runner and a fielder, obviously, but maybe they can avoid that as much as possible to the point that they can at least survive this. At least they can go forward without another positive. But I don't know. It's going to take, to your question, to your point, it seems like players are going to have to get tested on a daily basis, maybe even a twice daily basis before and after the games, just to make sure that they're not positive, that they can remove somebody who's positive as quickly as possible so that they don't unknowingly infect others.
Especially, Skip, really think about it. Basically, it's the batter or the catcher, close proximity, the first baseman, and if there's a runner on first base, or you're trying to hold the runner on. So that's really as close as it's going to get. Obviously, you try to steal, they're going to try to throw you out at second base or something like that. But and that's my only concern. Yeah, it's going to be a huge undertaking. MLB got smarter people than you and I that's trying to figure this thing out. My only concern, because Skip, here's the thing. The difference is with the flu, somebody got the flu. They sick. So you can avoid that person. With this virus, they might be asymptomatic, display no symptoms, and be a carrier of this virus. So that's what I think. That's what's really scaring medical professionals is that while, like you said, some people get it, Skip, and within a day or two, it's over. And then some people make a full recovery. I just saw the other day where a 90-year-old woman had a full recovery of it, Skip. They was like, her family, they was talking to her via conference, like, well wishes that we're sorry. And she makes a full recovery. We don't know why. They don't know why. They just know that this thing came on and it is deadly. And the normalcy that we once enjoyed, it might be a while before we enjoy that again, at least until they come up with a vaccine and they can keep this thing at bay.
So, Shannon, to your point, I've had to teach myself not to touch my face. And when I leave this house, which is rarely, I put a mask on. I don't know if you tried wearing a mask out in public yet or not, but it's supposed to be the law here in Los Angeles, so I do. And it reminds me of our early days together right after March 11th and the Rudy Gobert night, in which we tried to do some form of Undisputed from my house here on the west side of LA. And Shannon, as you know,
Correct.
You were coming to my house. We had,
Correct.
Let's see, three members of our social media team, 3 other members. So we had 4 humans coming inside our house. Ernestine and I did. And Ernestine was on this a lot quicker than I was. She saw what was coming. She saw the pandemic way before I did. And in the first days together, as we tried to do some semblance of Undisputed from this house, Ernestine was horrified because the first couple of days, none of us wore masks, and she could not fathom how she could get 4 humans in her house, walking all over the house, using the restroom occasionally, going in the kitchen occasionally, without somebody potentially getting infected. And I kept saying, It'll be okay. Nobody's sneezing, nobody's coughing, nobody's hacking. It seems like everybody's relatively healthy. Well, knock on some wood here. Here's some under here. There I go. Somehow we all got through that by the grace of God. By the 3rd day, we were all starting to wear masks inside this house. And I got to tell you, every day that the 4 humans left this house, Ernestine would scrub it down like obsessively. She would Lysol and scrub every inch of this house, and it wore her out. But maybe she saved the day. I don't know. But that's where we are in our society. And it would take those kind of measures for them to try to all stay above the fray, to stay, as we say, safe, to stay out of harm's way. All those same kind of measures would have to be taken in Phoenix for a 4-month period as everything dissipated. And maybe we keep hearing, this is the week it's going to peak. This is going to be the worst week. I have no idea, but it seems like we're getting to the crescendo of this. And then we've got to see if we can turn a corner and come out of it. As you suggest, we see some positive signs in Italy. We see a lot of, if we can believe what's going on in China, they've turned the corner. As you say, South Korea certainly turned the corner with their baseball. They're not playing before crowds, obviously, but still, it feels like this is America's first. See, to me, our sports are our barometer here in America. So Rudy Gobert was my first sign of catastrophe, and now Major League Baseball has provided me the first sign of, hey, maybe we're starting to come out of this. I know there are a whole lot of people out there who are still sick. I know a whole lot of people don't have a job, but maybe this is the first tiny little ray of hope for America. And the signal is coming from sports. So again, are sports that important to us? Well, they're important to me. And now they're sort of mileposts, if you will, on what's about to happen with our country, terrible and maybe better. So here we go.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, Skip, I really hope something positive can come of this. Hopefully we plateau. This thing has reached its apex and it's going to start to come down to levels that we can get back to some, like I said, normalcy, some resemblance of normalcy. But Skip, you mentioned that wearing the mask. I tried, I wore a bandana and I went to the bank and I wondered why security was looking at me funny. And then I realized I don't have a conventional mask on. So I better take this thing off because they think I'm about to hold the place up. So you just have to be cautious of things like that you take for granted. Because I'm going to the bank and I'm just carrying on, waving at everybody. But I was like, they're looking at me funny. Let me take this thing off. And I understand that, you want to be, proactive here, but I want to be smart also. I don't want someone to get the wrong impression.
So are you suggesting you might have been profiled even in a pandemic?
Well, if you go into a bank with a bandana on, Skip, and a hoodie, that's not profiling. That's not profiling. I'm sorry.
Okay. So it has come to this.
Yes.
It has come to this.
It's come to this. A lot of people
guys,
not going to get paid because I have no money.
Shannon, really, that's how you're going to end your point? No, either way, you guys make great points. I think it's daunting to figure out, but we know Major League Baseball is going to do everything in their power to figure it out safely and effectively, and we can just wait and see at this point.
No mercy.
So here's the thing, guys. We got to talk about Aaron Rodgers because, frankly, I love where this conversation always goes. The NFL released their 2010 All-Decade team. Tom Brady made the list. Aaron Rodgers made the list, but noticeably absent from the team was Drew Brees, despite leading the 2010s in passing touchdowns and yards by a wide margin. So, Shannon, I start with you. Did Rodgers deserve this over Brees?
Yeah. Yes. Let's see. This decade, the 2010s, right, Jenny? I think that's what you asked me. 2010s.
Yep.
One guy has a Super Bowl MVP, 2 regular season MVPs. The other guy doesn't. One guy played in 11 fewer regular season games, but have one more regular season victory than the other guy. What about playoffs? One guy's 4-6, the other guy's 10-7. One guy, the guy that didn't make it, was 21 touchdowns, 10 interceptions in the playoffs. The other guy is 36-11 in the playoffs. You tell me. Now, Skip Bayless told me that when Tom Brady lost the Super Bowl, it was because a sorry, pathetic defense had given up 41 points. Aaron Rodgers lost the game to the Falcons in 2016, in which his defense gave up 44 points. They lost another game in 2019 to the 49ers. They gave up 37 points. So I don't really, what are we talking about, Skip? You know good well A-Rod deserves it. He probably should have been unanimous. The way I'm looking at things from where I'm sitting right now in my palatial estate up in Bel Air, I can see it real clear. Yep, he and Tom Brady should have been unanimous selections.
I think you are fogged in up there in Bel Air. I think you can't see the forest for the trees outside your palatial estate because it's too foggy in your brain right now. I am outraged over this. This is just flat out wrong. And I'll be the first to say, my friend Lil Wayne is going to be very upset with me for what I'm about to say, but I cannot help it. I still love you, man. I just don't agree with you on Aaron Rodgers. I don't get it. I don't see it. Aaron Rodgers has become the most overhyped quarterback of this generation, which has led to him being the most overrated quarterback of this generation. He has definitely had his moments, but a lot of the hype comes from his cool factor. Is he cooler than Tom Brady? Yeah, I'll give you that. Is he cooler than Drew Brees? Yeah, I'll give you that. Both those guys are sort of nerdy, cliche-ridden family men, okay? And Aaron is cool. He likes his scotch. He likes to play golf. He likes to go on long vacations to Chile with his lady, Danica. She's the hot girlfriend, significant other who used to be the terrific race car driver. I get all that. Aaron, for a while, was dating a Hollywood starlet. I get all that. So if that's why you want to vote for him, I can't talk you out of that part. But this decade has belonged to Tom Brady, number 1, and to Drew Brees, number 2. Because if you look at this decade, across the decade, 10 years worth, Drew Brees leads the decade in completions and yards and completion percentage and touchdown passes and just about any stat that you want to throw out there, Drew leads for this decade. And obviously, he leads in all those departments forever. He is number 1 in all those departments, career and forever in history of the National Football League. But remember, if we want to be technical about this, Drew did win his Super Bowl on, let's see, it was February 7th of 2010. Does that count in this decade? That's what you just told me. He did. It was 2010, February 7th. He won a Super Bowl. And then 1 year later, which was in February 6th of 2011, Aaron Rodgers won his one and only Super Bowl. And how did that happen? He went on a 4-0 run as the road wildcard team. They were the 6th seed. And as you remember, they beat Michael Vick in Atlanta when Vick made a bad choice on the last second throw. It was just a bad idea, but it was a close game, went down to the wire. Then Aaron blew out Matt Ryan at Atlanta. That was good. And then in the NFC Championship game that year, Aaron Rodgers was pretty sorry. He deserved to lose that game, but Jay Cutler hurt his knee, wound up on the exercise bike during the second half, and Aaron Rodgers barely overcame Caleb Haney on the way to the Super Bowl. He played well in that Super Bowl. I still say Polamalu had a pulled hamstring, and Ryan Clark, my friend from ESPN, was at the end of his career and wasn't exactly the fastest safety who ever played pro football. And Aaron took advantage of it. Our man Greg Jennings took advantage of it, and they won that Super Bowl fair and square. But since that Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers is 6-7 in the playoffs. And when I think about it, I look at all the games he's won, they're all tainted. He beat Joe Webb as a starting quarterback. He beat Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins was horrible at that point. Dak Prescott was 4-0 against him when Kirk was a Washington Redskin. So he beat Kirk Cousins. Wow. Then there was the Dez catch game. Dallas should have won that game because obviously Dez caught it. And then there was the Giants boat trip game. Oh, well, Odell takes the Giant receivers to South Beach to get ready for a game up on the frozen tundra. And, okay, so you beat that team. They weren't ready to play. And obviously Odell had a miserable afternoon up in Lambeau Field. And then came the Mason Crossbar game when it took 2 intergalactic field goals from Mason Crossbar to save Aaron Rodgers in that game from 51 yards and then 56 yards. I'd never seen anything like it. And both of them were mishit field goals. One of them a dying quail to the right. The other one duck hook left. And somehow the hand of God moved it back inside the left upright. I don't know how it happened, but Aaron Rodgers could have lost any of those 5 games. And then you look at the losses. He lost. I don't know. They lost to Eli and Kaepernick at home. And then obviously there were the 2 San Francisco blowouts to Kaepernick. And then this past year, obviously, to the 49ers. And there was the one terrible game. Yeah, well, no, but he played not very well in those games. He played poorly at San Francisco this last playoff run. And then that one game he played very poorly in was the game at Seattle in the NFC Championship game. And I know it went down to the wire, but Aaron took a real beating in the media in Wisconsin, especially in Milwaukee, because by his standards, he was awful in that game. And then check this out. How about the last 4 years? The last 4 years, Aaron Rodgers has declined every year. His passing percentage, completion percentage, has dropped 4 straight years. His QBR has dropped 4 straight years. Meanwhile, the last 3 years, Drew Brees has led the league in completion percentage, led the whole league in completion percentage. Aaron Rodgers has Drew Brees has outstatted Aaron Rodgers for the last 4 years as Drew was going on age 41. Go look at the last 4 years. So the last 4 years of the decade, that's 40%. Drew has been far better than Aaron Rodgers. So how can you do that to Drew Brees? That he's been iconic. He's been legendary. He's obviously a lock first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's also on the verge of being a top 5 all-time quarterback. And you're saying he can't even make the all-decade team over Aaron Rodgers? I'm sorry, that's pathetic. That's a joke.
Skip, it happens sometimes. You know, us all-decade players, you know, your boy happened to be one of those in the 1990s. Skip, it happens.
Yeah.
It happens. Skip, but here's the thing. Look at Drew Brees. When they lost to the Rams, did Drew Brees play well when they lost to the Rams? They had home field advantage. Did Drew Brees play well? No. What about when they last year at home to the Vikings? Did he play well?
Vikings.
No.
Yeah.
Hold on. So, no, he didn't play well. He didn't play well against the Rams. He didn't play well against the Vikings. Aaron Rodgers, Skip, if you look at it, he's been to 3 NFC championship games. He's lost all 3. Drew Brees has yet to win more than 1 game. That's fact in this decade. Okay, his team gave up, you mentioned, they gave up 37. The defense gave up 37 to the 49ers, 44 to the Falcons. They gave up 37 to Eli. They gave up another 37 to the 49ers. Skip, how are you supposed to keep overcoming that? So I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers will not, but if you look at it, Skip, it's hard to, the guy has 2 regular season MVPs, 2 in this decade. He has a Super Bowl MVP. Skip, he's 305 touchdowns to 63 interceptions. Breeze has double the amount of interceptions than Aaron Rodgers. Skip, and he lost the championship game to the 49ers, to the Seahawks, Skip, OT. All the guy has to do is field the onside, and they're going to play the Patriots in Super Bowl. And he loses his mind. He wants to be the hero. He doesn't block. He tries to field it, and we know how that turned out. So, Skip, I get it. Drew, Skip, a lot of times being an all-decade player, you look at Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott just happened to come in 2016, and he only got 4 years in this decade. But, and he might not get it because much longer do we think Zeke's going to play? You get, guys at the front end, and they pan it out. But Aaron Rodgers absolutely deserves to be on here, Skip. You look at his resume. It's impeccable. Drew's record is impeccable. But, Skip, he doesn't have the postseason success to go along with that regular season most impressive. Because his regular season is more impressive than anybody in any decade ever at throwing the football.
Okay, I dare anybody to go back and break down the tape or even look at the play-by-play, carefully go through it, of the 3 NFC championship games Aaron Rodgers has played, and tell me what you see. I see 3 NFC championship games and 3 poor performances by Aaron Rodgers, especially when we're grading him, we're evaluating him at the highest level of the curve because he's chosen to the all-decade team. Tell me he played well in any of those 3 those NFC championship games, because he did not. Again, the Caleb Haney game at Chicago against the Bears, he threw an interception to Brian Urlacher. I don't think it got returned all the way for a touchdown. I think it went down to the 2 or 3 yard line, but it was the equivalent of a pick 6. They struggled mightily just to overcome Caleb Haney in the second half because Aaron was lousy. And then you look at the Seattle game, go back and break it down. I realize it came down to an onside kick that should have been recovered. I got you. But the reason it came down to that was because Aaron Rodgers missed so many throws through the course of that game to that moment. And it went overtime, as I recall. Aaron Rodgers was lousy by his standards in that game, and they should have won the game.
He had a pull
and the
calf.
reason they didn't was Aaron Rodgers. What's that? Say again?
What about the pull calf that Aaron Rodgers had?
Oh.
Are we going to talk about that?
I
remember he beat the Cowboys on one leg.
Step onto the field, if you step onto the field, you're okay to go. Am I right about that?
Yes, Skip.
Okay.
I did say that, and nobody wanted to hear that, but Skip, he beat the Cowboys on one leg and then had to go. Skip, do you realize, think about how many first-team all-decade players was on that defense. Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, and Bobby Wagner. They got 3 guys on that defense on the all-decade team. And Marshawn Lynch made it. So, Pete Carroll, you ought to be ashamed of yourself only getting 1 Super Bowl. You ought to be absolutely ashamed of yourself because you got 4 players on the all-decade team and you're an all-decade coach and you got 1 Super Bowl on your resume. But that's not, we'll talk about that probably tomorrow, I hope. But, Skip, look at what he was going up against. On one leg, and almost pulled that off. If Brian, I think Brian Bostic is his name, if he does his job, which is to block and allow Jordy Nelson to field that onside kick, Aaron Rodgers might have been unanimous selection on that. Just might have been. Because he'd definitely been 2-0 in Super Bowls this decade.
If Dez Bryant had been ruled to have scored a touchdown because he caught it, he ran a whole stride and a half with it, and then took it in his left hand because he's left-handed and slammed it on the goal line the way a running back does to break the plane. If that had been ruled a touchdown because the referee said touchdown, and that hadn't been overturned from New York for reasons I still can't comprehend, then we might be having a whole different conversation about Aaron Rodgers now. Maybe that was the play that put Aaron Rodgers onto the all-decade team, and it was fraudulent. It was bogus. It was criminal.
Nope.
Dez Bryant caught it. My Cowboys would have gone to Seattle and won that game because they'd already won at Seattle in the regular season, and they would have gone on to the Super Bowl and lost to Tom Brady as the Legion of Boom lost to Tom Brady, but at least they'd been in the Super Bowl.
You keep saying that, but you remember what happened last time your team beat a team in the regular season and faced that team in the playoffs? You know what happened. You beat Green Bay in Lambeau, and then Green Bay came right to Jerry World and spanked you. So stop thinking because you beat somebody early in the regular season, you should turn around in the playoffs and do it again. No, it wasn't going to happen.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's another reason Aaron Rodgers doesn't belong on the all-decade team. A rookie fourth-round quarterback named Dak Prescott went into Lambeau and completely outplayed Aaron Rodgers as Dak Prescott was about to outplay him several times that they have met in head-to-heads, and then outplayed him again in the playoff game. Dak Prescott threw for 305 yards and brought his team back from 21-3 down to 31 all, and it took 2 field goals to beat Dak Prescott. So thank you for bringing that up.
That's what Dak got. Guess what, Dak was one of my first customers. They came to Club Shay Shay and called that hot ale. That's what he got. So, Skip, stop this.
Well,
no, when you stop, leave Aaron Rodgers alone.
Yeah.
two league MVPs. Nobody else can say that. And a Super Bowl.
Lil Wayne, please forgive me. I still love you, but I don't love Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry.
No mercy. All right, guys, in Tom Brady's 21st season, he'll be under center in Tampa Bay with a different coach and a whole new set of weapons. Fox Bet has given Brady 25-1 odds to win the regular season MVP. So, Shannon, what shot do you give Tom Brady to win MVP?
50-1, but the narrative is in his favor because Skip Bayless is trying to paint this narrative. 43-year-old changes team, leads the Bucs to the playoffs after a 10-year hiatus. I know what Skip Bayless is trying to do, and a lot of other people are trying to paint that narrative because sports are about narratives. It's just not good enough to win the game. Jenny, we really don't care who won the game, but we need stories. We need a storyline. We need something that's compelling. And that's what Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay is. It's very compelling. A guy after 20 years, been in one locale, win all these Super Bowls, all these playoff appearances, the most wins in NFL history by a quarterback, changes team, leads teams to a playoff after a 10-year drought. That's a great story at the ripe old age of 43. But the fact of the matter is, Jenny, the Patriots offense struggled. Now, what Skip Bayless and others that are in Tom Brady's fan club, Skip Bayless happened to be the president, CEO, is that, it's all the receivers. But he was 27th in yards per attempt, 27th in completion percentage, 4th worst in the NFL. On target passes. Doesn't matter if it was caught or not. On target. Only Jameis Winston. Only Baker Mayfield. Only Mason Rudolph was worse than one Tom Brady. And in the second half of the season, Jenny, he was dead last in completion percentage and the 3rd worst in yards per attempt. That was Tom Brady. That's him. Now, Skip Bayless want to whitewash all that and make it Coach Belichick's fault. But we're going to see how it turns out. 25-1. I'm thinking it's more like, should he be in front of my homeboy and Deshaun and Russ, Breeze, Aaron Rodgers? Absolutely not. Skip, all the guys that I've mentioned have been in Lamar Jackson, have been in this system for years. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady is going to a new system, a new locale. So we're going to find out. But they got it about right. They said 25-1. I'm more like 35-40-1.
Wait a second. You opened this topic by saying 50-1. So right here, right now, I will bet you $10. Give me 50-1 odds. I just want $10, a $10 bet with you that Brady will win MVP. Okay. Do I get that? 50-1?
Bet.
Good. $10.
Noted.
Because I can't wait for you to pay me my $500 that you're going to owe me when you have to eat $500 worth of fried crow when he wins MVP, because I love his chances. And I do not understand why Fox Bet doesn't love his chances more, because at 25-1, that means 8 quarterbacks have a better chance, according to Fox Bet, to win MVP than Tom Brady does. I'm sorry, I don't see it. And I'll tell you why. Just do the math. Jameis Winston last year in Bruce Arians' throw it, bombs away offense, had 35 turnovers, as we all know. He had 30 interceptions and 5 lost fumbles. 35 total turnovers. That's 12 more than any other quarterback in the league. Tom Brady last year had a grand total of 9 turnovers, 8 interceptions, and only 1 lost fumble. So 35 minus 9, that's 26 more turnovers Jameis had than Tom Brady. What if you cut 26 turnovers out of Tampa's offense? And remember, Jameis was second in the NFL in touchdown passes with 33 to Lamar's 36. And Jameis led the league in passing yardage. Tom Brady's going to lead the league in passing yardage. Tom Brady is going to lead the league in touchdown passes. I said the other day, I'll go 40. I'll say 40 touchdowns to, let's say, I'll go high on this one because he's going to throw so much. I'll go 12 interceptions. If he has 40 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, and Tampa is the surprise of the NFL, which I believe they will be, let's say Tampa goes 12-4 and wins or steals the NFC South from the New Orleans Saints. Would 12-4 with 40 touchdown passes win you MVP? You better believe it would.
Yeah.
And why would he throw 40 touchdown passes? Because he's got 4 receivers better than any one receiver he had last year in New England. Last year, Pro Football Focus ranked the Tampa receivers 3rd overall in the NFL. They might be 1st overall. Last year, Pro Football Focus ranked the New England receivers 23rd. 23rd to 3rd. And in pass blocking, Pro Football Focus said the Tampa line ranked 10th, which is pretty great. And remember, Tampa's got the 14th overall pick in the draft. And they'll take, I think, one of those stud tackles. I don't know if it'll be Becton. It might be Andrew Thomas. Whoever's left there, they're going to get a stud offensive tackle, probably a right tackle. And that will only make that line that much better. And they have draft picks all down the line. They have 2 4th picks, 2 4th rounders. So the point is they'll get a lot better through the draft. And their defense is already vastly underrated because it inherited the worst starting field position in the whole league last year because of Jameis Winston and all of his turnovers. And I love Todd Bowles' unit. I love Todd Bowles. I'm not saying he's Bill Belichick, but he's up in the upper echelon of defensive coordinators. And when you have a Shaq Barrett and you have a Sue and a JPP and a Vita Vea, you got firepower across your front. And Levante David and Devin White, you got firepower in your front 7. They went 4-2 in their last 6 games. They led the league in sacks. They led the league in stopping the run, in rush yards allowed. So I'm looking at a team on the verge, as Tom Brady told Bruce Arians the first time they talked, of doing something very special. I love this team's chances. And if Brady puts up the numbers in the bombs away Bruce Arians attack that I think he will, why wouldn't he be right in the middle of the MVP conversation, if not at the top? So I just made a strong case. So I think I just won $500 from Shannon Sharpe. That's pretty good. I'll take that.
You're not going to win, Skip, but you do understand that in order to go bombs away, you have to hold on to the football. When you hold on to the football, you give the defenders an opportunity to get at you. Now, Tom Brady, we saw last year, he started flinching in the pocket. There's no denying that. And to push the ball down the field, you're going to have to take some big shots to the chops. Is Tom Brady willing to do that game in and game out? Can he have an awesome game? Yes. As we start to age, the thing that happens is that the ability to have those great games, game in and game out, start to dissipate. We've seen great players have those type moments. Adrian Peterson can still give you a 150-yard rush game. He just can't do it with the consistency in which he did it in 2012. Skip, and you do realize this, 5 of the 6 primary quarterbacks that Bruce Arians have had in their first year, they set their career high in interceptions. You do realize that, right? So his primary quarterback will be Tom Brady. This will be his first year. Go back and look. Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning. I'm just saying, Skip. I'm just saying.
Peyton Manning was a rookie with Bruce Arians. He led the league in interceptions that year. I don't want to hear. This is the GOAT we're talking about. This is Tom Brady driven to show Bill Belichick that he was wrong. We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes here on Undisputed. But the post that the letter that he wrote for Players Tribune, it certainly between the lines said, Bill, watch this. This man is going to be possessed, obsessed with showing the world that at 43, he can out Belichick and get to a Super Bowl before Bill does. And he's looking at Tampa as the diamond in the rough that none of us saw coming. I love this because you're right. As the year starts to unfold, the narrative will become, wait a minute, look what Tom Brady's doing for a team that's been called the Succaneers, the worst team in all of sports in history. They have the worst career winning percentage of .387 in all of sports. So Tom Brady, the GOAT, is not going to lead the league in interceptions next year. And if you want to bet on that, I'll bet on that right now. I'll bet you 10 cases of Diet Dew, Tom Brady does not lead the league in interceptions.
He's not going to lead the league in touchdown passes. Skip, you do realize they've only been two, if I'm not mistaken, only 2 quarterbacks to ever throw for 40 touchdowns twice in a season. Peyton Manning did it. He threw 48. He threw 55. And I think Marino did 48 and 44. Now, he already has a 50. You believe he's going to throw for 40 touchdowns or more at the age of 43?
I do.
What can we get?
Finally got some weapons.
Skip, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the type of weapon you have if you can't pull the trigger. If your aim is off, I can have any kind of weapon, but if I can't hit the backside of a barn, what good is that?
The backside of a barn? He had a woeful Patriots offense in position to win the 2 seed in the AFC and have a week off before they played a home playoff game. And Belichick's defense spit it up. They gagged, they choked because Belichick as a coordinator is overrated. Or maybe I should say Steven Belichick, the new coordinator, is overrated. And we got more. We got 5 cases on Tampa Bay having a better record than Bill Belichick's Patriots will have next year. And I love that bet. And if you'd like to extend that bet out to 7, 8, 10 cases, I'll do that right now.
No. I want to get some of this 40 touchdown. I want to get some on this 40 touchdown. Brady is not throwing 40 touchdowns. First of all, Skip, what do you think my homeboy is going to do? They bring their entire offense intact, hungry, want to repeat. Russ is going to be in the mix. Lamar Jackson is going to be right there. Breeze, Rodgers. Hold on. Isn't he tied with like Saquon? He might be tied with Saquon because they got the 2 quarterbacks in the NFC East. I think Dak and walk it to him maybe have better odds than your guy Brady. So stop this notion, Skip. Mm-hmm. He's 43. And it's, you want to commend him for being 43 and playing in the NFL, okay. But this notion that all of a sudden he's going to be throwing 40 and 40-plus touchdowns, no. I want cases. Let me get 5 cases. Let me get 5 cases he don't throw 40 tubs.
No, I'm good because I got a $10 bet at 50-1 odds that he will win the MVP, and I'm good. I'm going to rest on my laurels right here. I'm good to go.
And I want my $10. I want my $10 in Buffalo nickels. Don't bring me a $10 bill. Don't bring me 10 ones. Don't bring me 2 5. I want $10 in Buffalo nickels. I want Skip Bayless to go to the bank and says, I need $10 in Buffalo nickels. And then the cashier is going to ask you, Mr. Bayless, why do you need $10 in Buffalo nickels? And the look on your face when you say, I lost the bet to Shannon Sharpe, that's what I want.
You'll get $10 in Monopoly money from me.
No mercy. Welcome back to Undisputed. Time now to talk about Skip's team, the Cowboys. So last week, the Cowboys signed defensive end Aldon Smith. Now, he has been out of the league for the last 4 years due to off-the-field issues. He's currently waiting for reinstatement to the league, but our very own Jay Glazer, who's developed a close relationship with him, said that Smith has been sober for 9 months. He's doing well. He's training hard. He's ready to get back to action. So, Shannon, this question is for you first. How much can Smith contribute next season?
Before I answer that question, Skip, you remember in the previous block, I said there have been 2 quarterbacks that have thrown for 40-plus touchdowns at least twice. I said Manning and Dan Marino. Brought to my attention, Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers has since done it also. So those are 4 guys, but none of those were at the age of 40, let alone 43, which your guy's going to be. How much can Aldon Smith, a guy that's been away from the league for over 4 years, how much can he help? Wow. Skip, I wish him the best. I really do. But it's hard for me to believe a guy that's been away from the league for 4 years, a guy that's given his history, because statistics say guys that's been suspended multiple times, guys that's laid off this time, they repeat said behavior. So I wish him the best. I hope he's turned the corner. He has his demons at bay one day at a time. But Skip, if you're going into a season and you're counting on a guy that's been away from the game for 4 years to be a major contributor, how desperate are you? I mean, normally guys come in, you count on a rookie. Oh, but the guy played last year in college. Or you count on a guy that you got somewhere or somebody's been promoted to starting. You don't normally count on a guy that's been away from the entire NFL for 4 years coming back being a major player. So it just goes to show you. And Randy Gregory also filed for reinstatement. He's been away for 2 years. What they're trying to do is that they're trying to recapture the production that they lost when they lost Robert Quinn. And so they're hoping that between these two, they can give us double-digit sacks, what Robert Quinn gave us last year. Skip, I really, from the bottom of my heart, I hope that Aldon Smith has turned the corner and he can get his life on track. But I got to see it. I got to see it to believe it because he's been away for 4 years and he's been a repeat offender. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve a second chance. This is not a second chance. This is a third, possibly fourth, maybe even a 5th chance. But nah, Skip, I can't trust him. And that's it in a nutshell. I can't trust him.
I don't blame you for your conclusion. But I got to tell you, as desperate as I might be right now for that other defensive end across from DeMarcus Lawrence, that bookend end, as much as I don't even know if Aldon Smith or Randy Gregory will get reinstated by next football season.
True.
I'm starting to believe that Aldon Smith, if he does get reinstated, is going to be a contributor to next year's Dallas Cowboys. In fact, I believe so strongly in Jay Glazer, our man, that I'm starting to believe that Aldon Smith is going to be a very good player next year for the Dallas Cowboys after missing 4 straight football seasons and with a track record that is deplorable, abominable. I got all that. But Jay Glazer is not prone to overreaction. He's not prone to throwing you-know-what against the wall and hoping it sticks. Jay Glazer has been doing this for a long, long time, and he's arch-conservative when it comes to verifying his reporting. Well, this is firsthand reporting because Jay is an overseer of this organization called MVP, Merging Vets and Players, in which players help vets with their reentry into society issues, and conversely, vets help players with their issues. And according to Jay, and I'm going to take this to my bank, that he's saying that not only has Aldon Smith not missed a meeting in 9 months, but that he is sharing his issues and his problems with up to 100 people at these meetings, just open-heartedly. And according to Jay, he's just not the same guy I met 9 months ago. He's a totally different guy. Okay, I've seen that happen. I watched my mother do that. I watched her turn her life completely around through Alcoholics Anonymous. She had to give up a lot of things. She had to give up a lot of her ego, but she turned her life completely around. And maybe Aldon has also. And then let's take it into the gym, because Jay runs Unbreakable Performance, where Aldon has been working out with Jay on many occasions. And Jay says that he's got him up to 287 pounds, approximately, let's say 30 pounds more than Aldon played at in the years in which, for 4 years, 260-ish, he was as dominating a pass rusher as there was in pro football. And now, says Jay Glazer, Aldon has trained his butt off. He is completely rocked up. His conditioning is great, very low body fat. And Jay even went into that he was freaking monstrous in one drill that they have with a machine that's attached to the wall called the Raptor, and that in so doing this drill with this machine, that Aldon Smith ripped it completely off the wall. They've had lots of pro football players train on this machine, and nobody's ever done that before. So Jay is saying he's ready to play football again. Is it a long shot after 4 years because you just lose your sort of football muscles, your football rhythm? Maybe, but I got to tell you, if you've turned your life around and your body around, I'm starting to love his chances to come from nowhere back to everywhere in Dallas, Texas, playing right defensive end for America's team. So because of Jay Glazer, I'm willing to bet on Aldon Smith.
Well, Skip, what you're telling me is because he came, Tomasula was his coach. He was a linebacker, and they played in the 3-4. At 287, basically, you're telling me he's going to play a 5 technique, kind of what J.J. Watt plays. If people can understand that without trying to get too complicated, Skip, and 5 technique, 7 technique. Basically, he's going to play a position what J.J. Watt plays. J.J. Watt plays in a 3-4 defense. He's a defensive end, what we call a 5 technique. So that seems to be what he's going to play if he's up to that kind of size, because that's probably what J.J. Watt weighs. Watt probably weighs somewhere between 80 and 90. So I'm saying, so he's at the higher end of, 287, just right around 290. Skip, like I said, for me, it goes back to this. I want to be able to trust them. But see, unlike the Bible teaches us, they say, God says, trust me and I'll show you. I'm man. Show me and I'll trust you. That's how I am. See, God says, trust me and I'll show you. Well, I'm not him. I'm man. Show me and then I'll trust you. I got to see it first, because I've seen too many times where people have put their faith and their trust in Aldon Smith, and he's let them down. Skip, on any job, if your bosses can trust you, they'll believe in you. And when you come in a crisis, there's like, I trust this guy. It didn't happen, or it didn't happen, and I trust him, I trust her. Skip, I just can't. I can't trust him. I believe he deserves a 5th chance or whatever it is. And I know people, some of the things that he's done, people are like, well, no. It's kind of like with any job, Skip. If you're good at something, whether you deserve it or not, people will give you an opportunity. And don't just think this is in the sports world. This is in the business world also. If you're good at trading, if you're good at finances, and you get dismissed from one job, if you're really good at that, Skip, you'll go get another job somewhere else. That's just the way it works in society. It's called supply and demand. If you're good at something, there's a demand, you can be that supply for. But, Skip, I just can't trust him. I'm sorry. I wish him the best. I hope he comes. Hell, I'd like to see him get 10, 15 sacks, make the Pro Bowl. But I'll believe it when I see it. 4 years, Skip, you remember Josh Gordon left. Skip, he led the league in receiving yards and missed 2 games. He missed that time. He was never the same, Skip. And Josh Gordon was 24, 25 when he did this. This young man is coming back at the age of 31. I just don't see it.
Okay. I got you. And for those who have lost track of this, Aldon Smith was suspended multiple times for violating the substance abuse policy and the personal conduct policy. He had domestic violence issues. He obviously had drug issues. He had weapons charges. He had all manner of this, that, and the other. Just about everything you could have on a rap sheet, he's got it this side of actually killing somebody. It was as bad a rap sheet as we've ever seen in the National Football League. But it feels like in a 4-year hiatus that he's turned that around. So you could be right, Shannon. I'm not going to leap completely to a conclusion here. I'm just going to bet on Jay Glazer. And Jay concluded what he wrote in his mailbag for The Athletic with the fact that Aldon Smith is an absolute freak of nature. Well, he always was. He was coming out of the University of Missouri. Yeah. He what was he, the 7th? Was he a 7th overall pick? I forget. He was somewhere up high in the draft. 7th overall pick. The point is, in 2011. So he was a freak of nature, and he still could be if he's turned his life around. And the point is that he has seen the light in ways that maybe Antonio Brown hasn't yet seen the light. Maybe Antonio hasn't hit bottom yet. Aldon Smith hit bottom, and he realized that the ability to sign even a $2 million base deal with $2 million in SAC incentives is a miracle. It's a blessing. That's when he posted the picture of him signing the deal with the Dallas Cowboys. It was, I'm blessed and I'm thankful. And he should be, because this is by the grace of God that he got to this point. So I think he's going to seize the chance. But you're right. History would tell you that in many of these cases, these guys will fail again. But I think he gets it. I think he's got it. I think he's going to stay with it. And I just have a feeling that he's going to be able to contribute in some level, some way, shape, or form, even if he's alternating with Randy Gregory next year, that he will give them some quality reps on defense next year.
Skip, he got off to the start. You got to realize Aldon Smith was drafted 7th overall in the 2011 draft. What people don't realize, Skip, think about this. Von Miller, J.J. Watt, Richard Sherman, Julio Jones, Tyron Smith, Pat Peterson was all in that draft, and they all made the all-decade team. Aldon Smith had more sacks than Von Miller and J.J. Watt to start his career. That's the kind of projection. That's the kind of talent he was. Think about the names that I just mentioned. Aldon Smith could have absolutely been an all-decade player, but he got sidetracked. So the ability was there. No one, Skip, you don't get drafted 7th overall and then put up the numbers that he put up by accident. Clearly you're talented. First of all, anybody that comes into the NFL of 7 billion people, there's only like 1,900 of you that do what you do. So you're freakish. You're super talented. But it's the guys that Aldon Smith had an ability, Skip, to go to another level that a lot of guys, he had an opportunity to be a 1%er. I'm talking about guys that had an opportunity to get a gold bust at the end of the tunnel in Canton. He had that kind of ability. That's where Aldon Smith was headed. Mm-hmm. If he can get, Skip, if he can just be 55, 60% of what he was, keep his nose, stay on the straight and narrow, well, Dallas might have stumbled on something.
I'm just starting to feel good about this. That's all I can say.
Okay.
I'm with you, Skip. I have so much trust and faith in Jay Glazer and what he does with this program, and I don't think he would sing his praises if Aldon Smith hadn't made these changes, and I think we all are rooting for him. We want to see him have success, so we'll have to wait and see if he is indeed reinstated. No mercy. Yesterday, Tom Brady penned a farewell letter to New England where he thanked the fans and Robert Kraft, but failed to thank Bill Belichick. Brady also wrote that Tampa Bay was somewhere he felt he could be, quote, seen and heard. So, Shannon, what was your biggest takeaway from Brady's essay?
My takeaway is I told you, Jenny, and I told Skip Bayless, Tom Brady is exactly who I thought he was. The more accomplished the player is, the bigger his ego is. Oh, Shannon, you speaking for you. I said, no. No, I'm not. I was never a great player like Tom Brady. I was a very good player, been around some great players. And I told you, with O'Shea Sharpe, if I tell y'all grass will turn to cheese, start hustling crackers. I know about what I'm talking. Skip, it hurt Tom Brady more than he'll ever let you on to that when he found out that Coach Belichick was willing to move on from him with Jimmy Garoppolo, it hurt him. Because you think about what Tom Brady had accomplished up until that point, Skip. It wasn't like he was a 2 or 3 time Pro Bowler, had gone to a Super Bowl. The guy had gone to the Super Bowl like every other year. And you're willing to move on. Tom Brady, it's fine now. Everybody, what Tom Brady was looking for a way to get it. No, he wasn't. When Tom Brady found out that they were trying to move on from him, Tom Brady wanted an extension. He wanted the assurance that this would not happen again. And when he didn't get that, and I told you last year, I said, Skip, they're moving on. 20 years, they're done. He didn't want that 8. Yeah, he got an extra $8 million, Skip. But what he wanted, he might have been willing to. He was never going to forget it. But he would have been able to let bygones be bygones, to get another 3 years in New England, says, okay, I got an opportunity to finish 21, 22, 23 years. I played until I was 44, 45. But no, Skip, when you think about it, for me, a Hall of Fame speech or something like this, Skip, you don't want to thank everybody because then you devalue everyone else because you think your first grade, your second grade, your third, all these teachers, Skip, he's had one coach. It's not like Shannon Sharpe, I played 14 years, had 4 head coaches. He's had one coach. And you can't even say, well, Coach Belichick, I really appreciate it. And then you make this notion, well, it wasn't like, I talked to Coach Belichick on the phone. Skip, you know how this works. You've been around it. I don't know if you've actually been in draft rooms, but you've been close. The only guy that really gets to talk to the head coach on draft day is the first rounder. Me, when I got drafted, I was a 7th round pick. I talked to Lyde Huggins, who's the personnel director for the Broncos. Congratulations. How you feel about being a Bronco? I feel great. I'm going to show you. You should have got me earlier, but you got me. That's all I need. Skip, Tom Brady is like everybody else. He has feelings. So people have been letting that golly gee whiz Tom fool them, but up underneath of that one of the most accomplished players in NFL history is a raging human. And he hit with his ego was bruised. Can you imagine, Skip? They're going to try and trade a 5-time Super Bowl champ, a 3-time Super Bowl MVP, and you're going to try to move on without me. Skip, he hurt. And it came through. They said, some things get lost in translation when you read it. You laugh. I don't need to hear Tom Brady. I heard everything he said from the Player Tribune. Tom Brady's hurt. He took all his shots. It wasn't no party, no little shot. Those were bazookas that he was throwing at Coach Belichick, and you know it.
I do know it. And I agree with everything you just said and then some. But before I get to Brady, a quick aside about our previous topic in which I delivered a scathing rebuke of Aaron Rodgers over Drew Brees on the All-Decade team, and I predicted that my man Lil Wayne was going to be very unhappy with me. He just texted me, ouch, man. And yet, at the end of ouch, man, Lil Wayne included the laughing, crying emoji, which indicates to me that at least he's kind of laughing and crying at the same time. So forgive me, Lil Wayne, and I think we're still barely okay. Thank you for that. I do not think that Bill Belichick and Tom Brady are remotely okay. And Shannon, I remind you of what Tom Brady said right out here in Los Angeles, in the town of Santa Monica, only about a mile from where I sit right now in West LA in my house. He did an interview with Jim Gray at a conference in that offseason following that Super Bowl loss to the Eagles, 41-33, in which I think he held Belichick accountable for giving up 41 points to Nick Foles as Brady put up 33 and lost. And Jim Gray asked him, do you feel like you get the appropriate gratitude from, he just said, the Patriots? And Brady said, I plead the fifth. You plead the fifth? You're Tom freaking Brady and you don't get the appropriate gratitude? Well, that's all I needed to know. All of a sudden, the skids were greased and he was on his way out of town because he knew Belichick had tried to push him out the back door by going forward with Jimmy G, but then was forced, obviously, by Robert Kraft at that previous trade deadline to give him up and basically give him away to San Francisco. So none of this surprised me because this was actually Tom Brady's way of delivering a scathing rebuke of Bill Belichick, because he was saying that the people in Tampa want to listen to what I have to say. They want to see me and hear me. Oh, well, that would indicate in your former life for 20 years that coach didn't really want to see you or hear you what you had to say. And then the whole point was that he did say that on the draft day that Belichick's personal assistant that he's had for 20 years, that Burge Najarian, called Tom, and I'm with you, Shannon, that's no big deal for a sixth rounder to get a call from Belichick's personal assistant. Hey, you just got drafted by the Patriots. But that's the only mention of Bill Belichick in this whole post, this whole essay or letter that was posted on Players Tribune. That's the only mention of Bill Belichick. So I think we're in lockstep on this one. Yeah, Tom Brady is driven to show Bill Belichick. And what was the, you know, in the end, he said, I just want to show everybody what I have left. Well, no, he really especially wants to show that coach up in New England what he has left. And, and I think he's got a lot left.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Skip, you and I have been in lockstep. You and I have, people try to, you guys are making stuff up. You guys are short on topics and you're trying to start this. No, you're not. No, I'm not. You've covered the game for far too long. I've been in locker rooms and I've been a pretty good player. Skip, Mike Shanahan, my former head coach, tried to trade me twice. The moment he tried to trade me after the 95 season, he tried to trade me, Mike Pritchard, and the 15th overall pick, which turned out to be John Mobley, to Arizona for Eric Swan. Okay, that didn't go through because they wanted more. Then he tried to trade me again to the Green Bay Packers in 99. But we were 0-4 at the time, Skip, and they wanted to win the game so bad, and he felt I could help them win. They tried to get one more game out of me, and then were going to trade me the following Tuesday. But I broke my collarbone, and the trade fell through. Skip, I'm a 7-time Pro Bowler, a 4-time first team All-Pro. And I had gone, led the team in receiving like 6 years in a row. And you trying to get rid of me. So in other words, you think the backup that you got can help you win more games than I can. Skip, it hurt. And so just imagine Tom Brady. Skip, I had only won 2 Super Bowls. Tom Brady had 4 or 5 under his belt. Regular season MVP. He was already the 2000 all-decade quarterback. And you said, you're willing to move on from me for an unproven in Jimmy G. Skip, like I said, Skip, let me tell you something how this thing works. I'm a history buff. Let me tell you something how power works. If somebody tries a coup and they're not successful, if you don't get rid of that person, they'll try it again. Coach Belichick tried to overthrow Tom Brady, and it didn't work because the king, Mr. Kraft, intervened. If you thought for 1 second that Coach Belichick wasn't going to try this thing again, you were sadly mistaken. That's in his nature. That's who he is. And I saw this coming. I saw it coming. And they put on all this, even at the NFL Network when they're announcing the Centennial team. Tom Brady all dressed up and he's smiling. Yeah, Coach Belichick, I couldn't have done this without you. You pushed me. Everybody's saying all the right thing. No. Skip, you can't fool me. You cannot fool me. This relationship was always only player-coach. There was never, Skip, and I'm not saying you have to be friends, but they were friendly. They realized they needed each other in order to accomplish what they needed to get done. But once Coach Belichick felt that I could accomplish this without you, Coach Belichick was going to move on. And I'm not surprised that it ended this way. Now, Skip, I am a little surprised because this is kind of off brand for Tom Brady. He normally the golly gee with, hey, I want to thank everybody from Coach Belichick, Mr. Kraft, yada, yada, yada. But no. I don't need to hear him read it. I can read it and I can see the passion. I can see the anger. I can feel the hurt that he's feeling putting this out. Whoever typed it for him as he's talking, I can feel what he's feeling. And it's 100% real. So all you Patriot fans that thought Shannon and Skip was crazy and you thought I was crazy when I said this was going to happen, now how you like me now? Because I told you it was going to come to this and I said it wouldn't be pretty.
So I'm with you on this one. I believe that now the battle lines are drawn. Each of these guys, a great coach and a great player, have earned the right to show the other one, I can win without you. So now Bill Belichick is going to try to prove he can go win a Super Bowl with Jarrett Stidham. And Tom Brady is going to try to prove to Belichick he can go win a Super Bowl with the Succaneers, the woeful Tampa Bay Bucks. So I love this. I love the storyline, and I'm betting on Tom Brady.
Okay.
I'm with you, Skip. Shannon, you got to be careful because Skip and I are actually in the Tom Brady fan club. Skip is the president of the club. So you might want to be careful with how you talk about our guy, Tom Brady. No mercy. According to reports, MLB and its players are focused on a potential return as early as May. So how will this work? Well, games would be played in Arizona at various ballparks without fans. And the league also issued a statement this morning that they have considered several plans, but have not decided on anything yet. So Shannon, I start with you. In your opinion, how realistic is this that we could have baseball to watch as early as May?
I hope. It's a logistical nightmare because basically you have 25 major league teams, Skip, and you're trying to get them all into one locale. You're asking an awful lot, Skip. We talked about this at the opening of the show. The testing. Now, if I'm not mistaken, my math could be a little, I wasn't very good at math. If you have 25 major league baseball teams and you're talking about 30 players per team, that's what, 700, 750, give or take, players that's got to get tested. Not managers, not training staff or anything else other than that. And then I guess, Skip, what they're saying is that if we test you once, we keep everybody in isolation, we should be good. But Skip, what's the likelihood of 750 people, nobody going out to get a bite to eat, nobody going to get a drink? You're going to have to go to the grocery store. You're going to do something. So you're going to come in contact with someone else other than the people that have been tested and have been given a non-positive test. Skip, I want this to happen so bad, Skip, because look, I love the news and I try to read but Skip, I want to see sports. I want to see football, basketball. I want to see something that's not. Skip, I've seen everything. How many times can I watch the 87 NBA Finals, or can I watch the Super Bowl 50, Super Bowl 48? Skip, I want to see something that's happening right now in 2020. And I know that's being selfish. I know that the pandemic going on right now is more important. But I'm hoping that the officials can get this under control and we can get some resemblance of normalcy. Not that we're going to be normal, but some resemblance of normalcy. That's what I really want. I hope MLB can pull this off, that the baseball and the Players Association can come to some kind of agreement of how this thing is going to work out, and so I can start watching baseball. I've never been so excited to get this kind of news about baseball, but I'm excited about the potential of this possibly happening.
And so am I. I cannot watch a replay of Game 6 of the 2013 NBA Finals again because I've died 1,000 deaths just watching that. So please help us, Major League Baseball, give us that ray of light, that ray of hope, that first small step back toward normalcy. And the best news that I've heard or read is that federal public health officials have backed this plan, have endorsed it, have basically blessed it to both MLB and the Major League Baseball Players Association. They're on board. They think it has a chance. Obviously, Shannon, as you point out, 1,000 hurdles to get over. But baseball is the one game that lends itself to social distancing because the fielders are obviously fairly spread out. There's the batter's box next to the catcher, but maybe the catcher could wear a mask. Maybe the fielders could wear masks when they come in contact with the base runner occasionally. But in general, if the stands are empty, the players won't sit next to each other in the dugout. They will spread out in the stands when they're not up to bat. When they are up to bat, when they're not out in the field. And there'll be no more mound visits. I don't think there'll be any clubhouse situation where you dress and shower in the clubhouse. I think that will always all be done back at the hotel. You will put on your uniform in your room in isolation at the hotel. You will have to take individual rides to the ballpark. But Phoenix is a great place to try this because Phoenix is, of the metro areas, one of the least hardest hit. And Shannon, there's also a chance if they're going to play in 105 degree, 110 or 12 degree temperatures in the summer in Phoenix, that maybe, they're not sure yet, maybe the virus doesn't survive as well in that kind of extreme heat. We don't know that for sure yet, but maybe. And so Phoenix so far has been one of the least hardest hit metro areas. So maybe baseball can get back on the field and, more important, back on television because we all need our great escape that is sports. This leads to, okay, NBA, how about you? Well, Commissioner Silver said yesterday he's waiting until May 1st to make his sort of next big decision. But Woj at ESPN reported that Labor Day is their drop dead, so to speak. I hate to use that word in these days and ages, but that they're looking at Labor Day as their cutoff date for completing their playoffs, if in fact they can complete them. So again, basketball has the issue, of course, of less attire, just shorts and singlet tops. So there's more contact with sort of sweaty skin, and there's more chances to communicate the virus. So they have more issues than baseball would have to get back on the court. But they've been talking about doing this sort of biodome idea, this isolation idea, a bubble in Las Vegas. And maybe with the help of baseball leading the way, maybe Commissioner Silver can figure out some ways they can get the NBA back on the court in time for a little bit of regular season and maybe abbreviated playoffs through the summertime. So again, this is the first happy note that we've heard since March 11th, the night Rudy Gobert tested positive, and all of our lives changed maybe forever.
Yeah. But Skip, my thing is that you look at baseball, this says, okay, we can put teams in, and I guess spring training, you have Tucson, you have Scottsdale, you have Phoenix. So you mentioned there are 10, 11, 12 different locales. How many different locales are there in Vegas? You got UNLV. How many? Because you can only play. How many facilities are you going to be able to play? So you got to be looking to play, Skip, 3-4 games a night at least. If you got all these, do you have 3 or 4 or 5 facilities that you can play? Obviously you can probably put somebody. I guess you could turn some of the ballrooms where they hold fights at. They used to hold fights at Caesar's Palace or the MGM or, I guess you could have to use some of the casinos, Skip. You don't have that many facilities. It's not like, because spring training, as you mentioned, is in Arizona. So they have facilities that's MLB compatible. They don't have a whole bunch of facilities like that in Vegas for NBA.
No. I still think they can figure this all out, and I think this is our first point of re-entry into the way things kind of used to be. So I'm excited about it.
I think it's a glimmer of hope, and that's what we have to leave it with, because if the players are on board, the league is going to do everything in their power to do it well, to do it safely, and we'll wait and see.
No mercy.
Welcome back to Undisputed. Well, Antonio Brown has continued his campaign to make a return to the NFL by hiring a new agent. His previous agent ended their relationship in January after AB allegedly assaulted a moving truck company. So, Shannon, in your opinion, when do you think we will see AB in an NFL uniform again?
Not anytime soon. Skip, where do you think this is on the commissioner's priority list? Let me guess. It's in front of the draft. Absolutely not. It's in front of the upcoming season. Absolutely not. Out of sight, out of mind. The longer this pandemic goes on, the less likely Antonio Brown is going to even get a hearing to go before the commissioner. And remember how that turned out last time, Skip. Look, agents can't do anything about Antonio Brown's legal issues. Agents can't do anything about AB in trouble with the league. That's AB's fault. That wasn't Drew Rosenhaus's fault. Now, he might think that this agent have more pull with Roger Goodell in the NFL, but he's sadly mistaken. He got himself in this situation, and he's going to have to wait his time to get himself out of this situation. I don't expect to see Antonio Brown anytime soon, and that's what he's up against.
I'm afraid we won't see him next football season, whenever that is or however long that will be, because, Shannon, there's still a pending sexual assault lawsuit against him, and he just got charged with a felony in the assault of the moving van driver. And now we've even heard Tom Brady not be able to convince Bruce Arians to be able to join Tom in Tampa. So the signals sent around the league are no, 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 no. And I just don't see where it's going to go from here, because it feels like the entire league has rejected him, and that the commissioner will have no choice but to keep him out of football, at least for next football season.
All right, thank you all for joining us. So good to be back with you, Skip and Shannon. And don't forget to tune in to Undisputed again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern on FS1. Be well and stay safe, guys.